And our second runner-up is Gene Bradford, whose story is about how at the age of 13 he turned the spoils of a fishing trip into cold, hard cash on a subway platform. Hi, Gene.
Hello.
So are you an avid fisherman?
Yes, I get out probably 70 to 100 times a year still, and goes back to when my father got me started. And unfortunately, he died when I was 5 years old. But I have continued the tradition of fishing as much as I can.
75 to 100 times a year. That's impressive.
Well, I'm retired, so I probably get out 2 or 3 times a week, and I follow the weather. In the wintertime, I try to go south so I can keep getting out on the water. It's a little hard up here in Jersey in the wintertime.
Well, you're retired, and this happened when you were 13, so how many years ago are we talking about?
Well, I'm 75 now, so that would be back 62 years ago.
Yeah. And you were already an avid fisherman, you say?
Yes, I was going out probably every Saturday during the flounder season. I remember taking the subway out to Pelham Bay Park and then a bus to fish for flounders every Saturday morning, yes.
And you were already an avid entrepreneur, apparently, also.
Yeah, but this is during the Depression. Were you...
Well, it's been 47, I guess. We're probably
right
coming
after
out of the recession.
But your father had died and your mother was working. Were you doing this because you were fishing for food, or were you doing it because you loved fishing?
No, just for sport. In fact, I had probably never caught as many fish as I had caught that day, and I really had no plan on what to do with them, but I wanted to bring them home to impress my mother.
You were going from Sheepshead Bay to the Bronx.
Yeah, I set out from the Bronx, probably 6 in the morning, because the party boats would leave about 8 and get back about 4 o'clock. And that particular day was very excellent mackerel fishing. I'd use a little metal jig with a hook and then have 3 or 4 teasers tied on up above the jig.
Wow.
And you'd put it down about 30 feet and jiggle it a few times, and you'd come up with 3 and 4 fish every time down. So it didn't take very long to fill up my burlap bag.
But this was kind of like a... as it turned out, this was kind of like an old man in the sea sort of scenario in which he catches an enormous fish, but by the time he gets home, there's not much to show about it.
Not much left, yeah. I filled up 2 burlap bags with the fish, and then I had my fishing rod, and I had my tackle box, and I had to get back to the Bronx on the subway system. So I managed to get to the 14th Street station all right, but then I had to change over to I guess it was the IRT, to get to the Soundview station in the Bronx where I lived. And I was dragging these 2 bags behind me because they were so heavy. The fish probably averaged about 1.5 pounds apiece, and I probably had 50 to 60 fish in a bag.
Well, that's a lot of fish.
I had a lot of fish, and I had my rod and my tackle box. And so while I'm going through the train station to get to the Bronx train, the burlap bags, both of them, just shredded, and the fish started spilling out on the pavement. And so I didn't know what to do. I mean, I wanted to take the fish home, but I couldn't figure any way to get them back. I had no way of getting another bag. And so the only thing I could think of was to spread out some newspapers, and I held up a mackerel, and I cried out, "Mackerel, 5 cents." Get your fresh mackerel, 5 cents.
Was that a bargain? It must have been a bargain even then.
It must have been a tremendous bargain because even though it's a rush hour and there were a lot of people, I mean, I had a big crowd around me, and every time I'd sell a fish, I'd wrap it up in a sheet of newspaper, and then I ran out of newspapers, and people were providing their own newspapers. But in short order, I sold out. I must have had over 100 fish.
Wow!
Between the 2 bags.
Well, but so that's about $5. That's not all that much.
In something like $5 or $6. At that time, the party boats were only $4 for adults, and being a child, they let me on for $2. So I had a very nice profit for the day, and I felt very good.
Well, what did your mother say when you came home? You didn't have any fish.
Did you show her the $3?
I didn't realize she was counting on me for fish for dinner. My wife today knows better, I guess, than to count on me. But back then, I guess my mother didn't know. So I didn't have any fish, and she was expecting fish for dinner. So I had to disappoint her, and I guess we probably ended up eating spaghetti that night.
Have you ever caught that many fish again?
Yes, but not very often, and it's getting less frequent every year. I get harder and harder.
Sure.
But you're not taking the subway anymore with the fish?
No, I live here in Rumson, and fortunately we have a launch ramp just a few blocks from where I live, and I'm able to get by just with that rather than taking the subway. I haven't used the subway in probably 10 or 15 years. Last time I went up to a Stuyvesant CCNY luncheon, and I took the subway. But
well, I can tell you, Gene, that people aren't selling much mackerel on the subway these days.
But they're very nice. Thanks for participating.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a real pleasure to share my story, and thanks for calling.
Thank you, Gene.
Okay, goodbye, Leonard.